the practice problems that I assigned to you on Friday, you seem to not necessarily be paying attention to the feedback that I'm giving you on your work, as far as like why you're getting these answers wrong, even though I've been going over this with you for several days. So I really, really, really need you to make sure you're paying attention to this video and that you are listening to what I am saying that you need to do. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the surface area of rectangular and triangular prisms. So we're going to start with a rectangular prism, and that's shown here. So step one is to always determine how many faces there are and what shapes the faces are. So if we remember, the shapes of a three-dimensional figure, or the faces of a three-dimensional figure, are the different shapes that it's made up of. And in a rectangular prism, all of those shapes are rectangles, but they can be of various sizes, and there's 6 of them. So I want to kind of outline on here what the 6 faces are. So we have our front face here, and this has an equal face in the back. So the front and back face are the same size. So we have our front and back face, so that's 2 faces. Then we have our left and right face, which would be here. And here. So that's 2 more faces, so that's 4. And then we have our top and bottom face. And those are, in this particular one, the biggest faces that we see. So that would be this bottom one here and this top one up here. Okay? So that's a total of 6 faces. Okay? So we have 6 faces. Now in step 2, it says to find the area of each face. Remember, all of the faces are rectangles. But we don't actually even need that in here. Just find the area of each face. Okay, so let's start with the top and bottom face. And in order to do that, I'm going to erase my marker on here. We use the top and bottom as green. So if we take a look, the top and bottom faces, the bottom face is what is like laying if this were on a table. And then the top face is the opposite of it up here. Okay? And the thing that we know about the faces in rectangles is, or in rectangular prisms, is that the opposite faces are equal in area. And that's why you see here it says top / bottom. And the area, that's a rectangle, so it's base times height. Okay? And if you look here, we have this bottom rectangle here has a base of 25 and a height of 20. So we say 25 times 20. And when we put 25 times 20 in our calculator, we get 500. Okay? Now, that's just the area of just the bottom. But the area of the top is the same. So what this is really saying is that the top area equals 500 and the bottom area equals 500. And this is going to be important to remember when we go back and take a look at when we're adding the areas together in step 3. Okay? So now we found the top or bottom area, and we only had to do this calculation once because we know that if we find the bottom, the top is the same. So we found the bottom is 500, and we know the top is also 500. Okay? Now let's take a look at our front and back faces. So the front and back face would be, this would be the front right here. And we know that because the back one is opposite of it, then it's going to have the same dimensions and in turn the same area. Okay, so if you look here on this rectangle here, the only thing we have labeled is the base. We don't have the height labeled, but back here we don't have the base labeled, but we have the height. And since we know that this height is 4, that means that this over here is also 4. Okay, So we can calculate our area based on that information. So the front and back, again, is a rectangle, so it's base times height. And our area is going to be 25 as our base and 4 as our height. So 25 times 4. And when we put 25 times 4 in a calculator, we're going to get 100. Okay? But that 100 is the area of just the front face. So we have to remember that when we're calculating that area of the front and back, that means that the front area is 100, and the back area is also 100. But we only had to calculate it once because the front area is equal to the back area. Okay? And now I'm going to highlight that. And now let's take a look finally at the left and the right. So we have a left side and a right side. The left side is over here. And we don't have any labels for that. And then we have our right side, and luckily we have a base and a height label for the right side. It has a base of 20 and a height of 4. And we know that because these faces are opposite each other in the rectangular prism, their areas are going to be equal, which means we only have to find the area of the right side, and that'll be the same as the area of the left side. So I'm going to scroll down to type this in, so I'm going to have to erase this. But if you look here, this is your right side, and it has a base of 20 and a height of 4. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put that in. For left and right side. Again, it's a left and right side. So its area is base times height because it's a rectangle. And we said that the base was 20 and the height was 4. So 20 times 4. So that means that 20 times 4 is 80. Okay, when we put it in a calculator. So that means that the left side area is 80. And the right side area is also 80. Okay? I'm going to highlight that in the blue color. Now, Logan, you found all of those areas correctly, but you messed up on step 3. Step 3 says to add the area of each face together to get the surface area of the figure. Make sure you have all 6 faces, even though you only have to find 3 different areas. Okay, so the surface area is the top plus the bottom. And remember, those were represented by our green. So our top plus our bottom is our green. Our front plus our front and back, which was the pink. And the left and right side, which was the blue. Now, Logan, when you were doing this, when you were finding this surface area, you knew that the top and bottom area was 500, the front and back was 100, the left and right was 80. You were doing 500 plus 100 plus 80. Well, that's only half of the surface area because what you did here is just the top plus the front plus the left. But you need top and bottom. So that's, if you remember here, the top is 500, the bottom is also 500. So this should really be 500 plus 500 plus 100 plus 100 plus 80 plus 80. Because that is the top plus the bottom plus the front plus the back plus the left plus the right. And if you go back and count, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers that we're adding together, which are the same as the 6 faces. We have the bottom and the top, the front and the back, the left and the right. Okay? And when you add all of that together in a calculator, we're going to add 500 for the top, plus 500 for the bottom, plus 100 for the front, plus 100 for the back, plus 80 for the left, plus 80 for the right, and that's going to be 1,360, and it's centimeters squared, or square centimeters. Okay? Now when we take a look at this one down here, this is a triangular prism, and it's kind of the same situation. There's actually a side length missing. So let me see here. Right now, we have the base and the height of the two triangle bases, and we know that those are equal. So first, let's talk about the faces. There's the front face, the front triangle, and the back triangle. And those are opposite faces. And in a triangular prism, the two triangle faces are actually called the bases, and they are equal. Okay? Then we have three rectangles, and those rectangles are not always the same size. So we have right here, this is like the bottom rectangle, okay? And then we have another rectangle that I kind of call the top rectangle. And then we have another rectangle in the back there, the tiny skinny one, like that. So that means that we have two rectangle faces, and two triangle faces and three rectangle faces, which is 5 faces. And they are 2 triangles and 3 rectangles, okay? The triangle bases, we can figure out those areas by 1/2 times base times height. So I'm gonna go ahead and erase this. And it's pretty easy to visualize here that this triangle right here is a right triangle. So we have our base and our height. So 1/2 times a base of 24 times a height of 7. And Logan, when you did this in your calculator, you got the wrong answer. So if we do 24 times 7, that's 168. And then times 1/2 is the same as times 0.5. Which is 84. You got 94.5, which I'm not sure where that came from. But if you remember, the triangle bases, there's 2 of them and they're the same size. We found the area for 1. So in this part down here, our area of one triangle base is 84. And when we multiply that by 2, that'll be the area of both bases together. So 84 times 2 is 168. So the total area of the front and back faces is 168. And this is a step that you don't necessarily need to do here. You can do it in step 3. But I just wanted to show you that this is the area of one triangle, the area of another triangle here. So altogether, the area, you multiply the area of one triangle by 2 to get the area of both. Now let's take a look at the rectangles. And our bottom rectangle is kind of the easiest one to see. Let's take a look at the side one here. The little tiny skinny one, okay? And we need to know the dimensions. We have the height of 7, but what about our base? Now that's not labeled down here or up here, but we do have a 22 over here, which is opposite this side. So that means that 22 is also going to be this side length. Okay, so that first rectangle is a base of 22 and a height of 7. So a base of 22 times a height of 7, which in our calculator, 22 times 7 is 154. Okay, let's take a look at another rectangle that we have in here. And that's the bottom rectangle. Let's do that one. Blue. That's represented here. And we can see that that has a base of 24 right here, and a height of 22. So a base of 24 times a height of 22. We put that in a calculator. 24 times 22 is 528. Okay. And then we have our last rectangle, which is this top one here. Okay. And this one here, we have this side and this side are equal, and they actually weren't labeled, and that was my bad. I didn't catch that before, but this is actually a length of 25. But then we have this side and this side. So our dimensions of this like top facing rectangle is a base of 25 and a height of 22, or a base of 22, a height of 25. It doesn't matter, but it's 22 by 25. So that's our third rectangle. That's 22 by 25. And when we put that in a calculator, 22 times 25 is 550. Okay? So now we have actually found the area of all 5 faces. We found the area of the triangle bases, which are each 84, the area of the first rectangular base, which is 154, the area of the second rectangular base, 528, and the area of the third rectangular base, which is 550. So if you take a look here, the surface area is pretty easy to find. We just add all those together. Surface area equals, well, the triangle base plus the triangle base. Well, each triangle base is 84. So we have to do 84 plus 84 plus rectangle 1 plus rectangle 2 plus rectangle 3. Well, rectangle 1 is 154 plus rectangle 2 is 528 and rectangle 3 is 550. Okay. Now let's check and make sure that we have the correct number of faces. Remember, a triangle or prism is 5 faces, so that's 1 face plus 2 face plus 3 face plus 4 face plus 5 face. Okay. When we add those together, we get 84 triangle base plus 84 triangle base plus rectangle 1, which is 154, plus rectangle 2, which is 528, plus rectangle 3, which is 550. So we get 1,400 is our total surface area, and we were measuring in meters, so it's 1,400 square meters. Okay? Logan, when you did this, you only added in one of the triangle bases, and you have to make sure that you have both. They are opposite each other, so they're the same size, which means that they have the same area, but you have to make sure that you represent both base of the triangle faces in your final answer. So now you're going to do a couple practice problems now.